What's up, YouTube? Welcome to one of Tyler's bedtime tech tutorials. I say bedtime because I'm in my PJs, I'm getting ready for bed, and I thought it would be a great time to do a video. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded any content, so this is more of a test run, and I'm going to talk about databases. In this example, we will restore a database or two from a backup file, and then we will create a database. We'll do one manually, and then we'll create another database using a script that will populate said database with dummy data. Sounds like it's a lot, but it really isn't. And even if you don't like this subject and think it's boring, bear with me, because you'd be surprised how much it pertains to what we do on a daily basis in terms of technology usage. Everything from filling out a form to logging into an application or using an app on your phone, social media, banking, etc. This is kind of the back end process of how some of that data is handled. Now, there's a handful of different database applications out there, or database platforms. Oracle is big. In this example, we're going to be using Microsoft SQL Server, and pretty sure it's SQL Server 2017. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and fire that up. There's the files that we're going to use for the lab. Now, disclaimer alert, this is all dummy data, and nothing is live. This is any lab environment. Running on an isolated network. Only minimal access to the outside world. Obviously, there's internet access, so we can, if we need to integrate with third-party applications or vendors, or an API would be a great example. So we have allowed some traffic to come through on the firewall with various rules, with limited access to this subnet that we're running on this lab environment. And then at the end of the video, it will be shut down. So we're going to go ahead and click connect. And let's load the databases, and we will see that it's empty. Now let's say we just got a phone call from management and they said the system's down, we can't do anything, fix it now. And your first response should be yes ma'am or yes sir. We'll get right on that, because what's happening is customers and vendors and employees are not able to do their jobs, because this particular system is responsible for a third of the overhead in terms of transactions, processing, and funding, billing, and payroll, and how all that correlates. So it's important that we get it fixed for them. Production is halted, and the company is losing money. So it's our job to make sure it's fixed. So hopefully we have a backup file we can restore from within the hour, or within the last few hours, or we have a recent backup that we can restore from. So we can find out by going to databases, right clicking, and then restore a database. And then we'll select device and then click on the dots, and then backup media type is file. We'll leave that default. We'll click add, and we have two databases here, two database backup files. We have AdventureWorks and Northwind. So we're going to select Northwind. We're going to click OK. We're going to click OK again, and it's going to validate the recovery media to make sure that there's no data corruption. Just to be on the safe side, we're going to go to Files, or Options, I should say, and we're going to select Overwrite the existing database. And then we're going to go back to General. And we should be able to leave everything else default. Okay, so this was the last time that we're restoring to from. For this lab demonstration, this is perfect. Hopefully there are more concurrent snapshots of each database. We can go over that in a future video. But we validated the backup. Now we're going to verify backup media. Backup media verified successfully. Very good. So we're going to click OK. Northwind database restored successfully. Yahoo! So if we expand Northwind and then the tables, we'll see that we have data populated in there. Very good. So let's fire up a query, and we will say select all. We're going to indicate that with a wildcard, therefore it's an asterisk, from products. And here's all the products. So let's say we want to sort the products where unit price is greater than $100. And we have 2 items that were returned that are above, where the unit price is above $100. Very cool. So we can call back, we can call management back, and we can let them know that the database has been restored and the application should be back online and fully accessible. And they test it, and it is working, and they're happy, and move on to the next ticket. So how do we do that again? We'll run through it one more time. We'll go to right click on database, restore database, select device, click on the dots, leave everything default. This time we're going to pick on AdventureWorks. Click OK. It's been validated. And we're going to verify. Then we're going to click OK. And the database was successfully restored. Another quick way we can query each individual table is by going to right click on the table and go select top 1000 rows, and there you can see the output. So how do you create a database? If you go to databases, if you right click, go to new database. What are we going to call this database? We will call it charity. The only issue with this is we don't have any data, so we'll have to figure out a way to import the data into the charity database. One way is by, you can do it manually by going to table, new, and then you can specify I can't type tonight. actually got an idea. So since the donation amount, we want to make sure that the data type is currency. So we want to find currency. And then the date of donation. What would the data type on this be? Date, perhaps? Very good. And the data types vary based on what they are. So obviously date, the variable would be date. Our primary key is the item ID. That is the unique identifier that will associate the fields with this table and others. So, and we'll do some inner joins, outer joins, and storage procedures down the road. So if you're getting ready for intro to database or database concepts, this is a great video to be watching. Or if you're just interested in how databases work. So we'll go ahead and click save. That will create the table, and we'll call this we'll call it donations, right? Is that how you spell it? Yeah, donations. This is just an example, so I'm not going to be going too far in depth. Very good, donations. And then we could even go as far as inserting data into this. I'm not going to do that right now, but we can do that on another video because this is Tyler's bedtime tech tutorials, and I'm getting pretty tired, and it's almost past my bedtime. So you notice that that's a lot of manual work, and we don't want to do repetitive tasks all the time because it's not boring. It's okay, you know. There's nothing wrong with that, but let's say we want to automate this task so we can maybe cut back on the overhead and try to find more efficient use of our time. So what we're going to do is, let's say we are given a task by a project management team that we're working with, and there's a new application for a school system, and we've been given the task to create a database for this application, and this will contain courses, instructors, grades. So almost think of it as an enterprise level learning management system. We're not going to go that far into depth. We're just going to create the database for demonstration purposes. So let's say that they are giving us this task, and they will provide the data that we can add into the script, and once we verify that everything is entered correctly, we can execute said script, and that will create the school database and populate it with the dummy data that we were provided with. So let's fire up that script we have. If we go to school, we'll see that we have an SQL file called school. We're going to open that in the Server Management Studio, and here's the code. So it's going to do some basic error checking first. It'll look for the school database based on that name. If it's not, it will create it. It will also specify a simple recovery model, and then it'll create the tables, department, person, on-site course, online course, grades, course instructors, etc. You get the point. And then it'll define the relationships between the courses and like online courses and courses, and this is where you're taking two tables and you're defining how they relate to each other. And we'll break that down in some flowcharts and database diagrams for an upcoming video. But if we keep scrolling, we'll see we got some stored procedures, very cool. And this means that it's a stored procedure that will update the person or update person stored procedures. So if somebody goes into the application on the management side of things, where you know if you're someone that oversees that, you go in there and you update that person's or that you make an update in that application. That'll also update the database with something called a stored procedure. So that's a block of code that will run that task whenever that action is performed on the application side. Think of a CRUD, and that's a programming term for create, read, update, and delete from the application side itself. So let's say you're on Facebook and you need to change your profile or your bio. You would go in, log into Facebook, where and your Facebook login most likely lives on a database that looks just like this, or it might be running Oracle or something else, who knows. But you'll go to log into that, and obviously it'll be encrypted, so not just anyone who is a DB admin can go be like, I know what such and such password is. No, it doesn't look like that. It's encrypted, hopefully with at least 256 AES or higher, if there is higher. I don't think there is. Anyways, I'm getting besides the point. We'll deal with a encryption for a completely other video. Right now I'm getting way off subject. So stored procedures, perfect example of how they work, I just went over. So like if you update your address on Facebook, or what city you live in, it will run a stored procedure and say, hey, such and such is updating their address. It's going to be displayed on the profile, but we also want to make sure it gets updated on the database, because it's ultimately the profile is being told based on what's in the database. I hope that makes sense. So here's the dummy data. And we can go ahead and run this. I just wanted to kind of go through and read it for demonstration purposes. And I'm going to be doing a lot of things specifically for demonstration purposes. So if it seems repetitive, then that's why. So we're going to execute. One row affected. Very good. That means that the tables were created and populated with that dummy data that we just saw. So if we right click and refresh, we will see a school database. We'll see tables. And here we go. So if we try to pull from the persons, we'll see the output. Now you notice how the person ID is different. That means it's that's a primary key. I'm trying to think of how that could be improved upon, but I'm not going to go that far down the rabbit hole. Let me see. So online course, let's go here. Okay, let's just pull from course. Okay, there we go. So if we select all, and the asterisk means all, that's a wildcard term in database and application development. Select all from course, And here's the output. And we want to select a course where credits equal 4. And only 4 credit courses are displayed. We'll end this video by doing a simple backup of all these databases. So we'll start with AdventureWorks. We'll go right click, tasks, backup, and let's make sure we're backing up to the proper location. Very good. This time we're gonna give it a different file name. This is probably not the best thing to do, but for demonstration purposes, we're gonna do that so we have 2 separate backups, because we already have one previously. And what we'll do, actually, I got a better idea. What we'll do is we'll do your typical backup, and then we'll do another one. Oh, it failed. Okay, so didn't work. Sorry. Okay, so let's back up charity database for our fundraiser. We'll back up the Northwind. And all this can be automated with scripts. So let's open up the backup DB. So we could do backup Northwind. So if we go here, we will see, oh, that one's a bad one. We'll get rid of that one. We'll do the same thing to the school one. So now we should see school in there. Very cool. And just for the heck of it, we'll do the others. Why not? There we go. So now we should have 4 backups. And this is basically the same thing we just did for the previous step, only we wrote queries. And then we could set scheduled tasks to run these queries during the off hours, so we have backups running concurrent. And we can also do database snapshots, and we'll dive into backups, disaster recovery, and business continuity down the road. To kind of end this video, I always try to encourage to kind of think a little bit, and this type of database administration is I don't want to say old school, but it's a very efficient way of uh, managing databases versus uh, throwing everything in the cloud. And there's nothing wrong with migrating everything to the cloud, and that's kind of the new trend, and they're almost it's almost a recommended best practice nowadays. But it all depends on the needs of the organization and what you're trying to accomplish. This is, like I said, it's a very well protected, uh, isolated machine, so we are ensuring data privacy and error checking to prevent uh, data exfiltration and intrusion. I actually did integrate this with an Azure SQL Server instance to kind of extend it, and that is the furthest we've opened it up to the internet. What we did was set up a site-to-site virtual network in the cloud, and we connected that to our firewall and allowed traffic to flow back and forth from this to that, etc. Some pretty cool stuff, and the next video I'll show you how we did that with AWS. Uh, we'll do both. We'll do Azure and AWS. I'll show you how I set both of them up. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff. I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and good night.